The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to be discussing farmers markets, what you need to know before you go, as well as ways to improve the production of your garden this year. And our guest is homesteader and author Angela Ferraro-Fanning will be with us, and we'll answer your garden questions. The hour is full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy you've chosen us to take part in your day. I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're listening to us on one of the 20 AM and FM frequencies broadcasting our program here in 2023, through a radio app, through our parent website, which is the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, underneath the Season 7 tab at the top of the page, in-studio video replay, podcast download. Thank you very much for taking a little time out of your day to allow us to be part of it. If you want to be part of the program, you can do that in a couple of ways. One, by sending us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call, 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Well, farmers markets are all the rage, and now's the time. There's some farmers markets that goes year-round, but right now is the time in which farmers markets would be beginning to pop up around your area.
Yeah, a lot of people now are even like doing farmers markets dates.
What is that?
It's like where you meet somebody and instead of meeting for
like a Tinder Bumble thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of meeting for like coffee or a drink, you're like, let's meet at this farmers market, and then that way
girl for farmer or whatever it is.
No, like you meet there, and then that way you have something
in the hopes of falling in love. And is that okay? All right.
That's
continue.
You know, that's how.
That's where we're at in society now.
Well. Yeah, things have changed and evolved, and that's fine. But also, people are moving away from dating apps. But that's a different conversation.
Look at that carrot. Boy, will you marry me?
That's how our first date went.
Yeah. All right. It did not. But, all right.
Somebody will be like, they'll be like, what?
Okay.
So anyway, farmers markets are fun. I think they're fun, and I think that everybody should at least try to go to one.
Well, how does one know if a farmer's market is even in their vicinity, their neighborhood, their city?
So you can find out a couple ways. If you're in any of those like buy, sell, trade groups on Facebook, you can ask. You know, those are usually community based. Otherwise, I think there's like neighborhood apps, things like that people can.
So essentially, just ask somebody.
But you can also just go to your favorite search engine and type in farmers market in your city or your zip code, and it's going to tell you. Sometimes you can find out from your Tinder date, maybe perhaps if they tell you that they want to go to the farmers market. But yeah, those are some good ways. You can also call your city hall. Okay. Because a lot of times they are, they have to have permission to use some sort of city.
So call area. Your municipality head office.
Town hall, whatever you want to call it.
And now once we figured all that out, first of all, farmers markets are not just beets, potatoes, cabbage, and lettuce. There's a lot of different things a farmer's market has besides just vegetables.
Right. So they have everything from vegetables, obviously. Sometimes they have other things like honey, eggs, flour, cheese, meat. And then they'll have like, what do you call it? Like Whole Foods, where it's like I said, the ingredients foods sometimes they have. And then some of them even have hot food or food trucks or desserts, cupcakes, things like that. It's
an experience.
It is. That's why it makes a good date.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then some of them even have live music.
Right.
So there's that option too.
And it's not always on Saturday morning.
No. It's not always on Saturday morning. So there's also like Sunday morning farmers markets. Or Sunday farmers markets. But then like the one near us here at our
studio
home near the studio is, I think it's like on Tuesday.
Tuesday evening or something like that.
Yeah.
2 to 6 or something like that. So they're all around. There's ways in which if you want to partake and be part of the farmers market, you can get a hold of your city municipality and figure out the rules and regulations in regards to that. But when you go to a farmer's market, what are some things in which one should be sure to pack along?
Yeah, so you probably want to bring cash, even though we're moving to a cashless society. A lot of these vendors want cash.
Because there's service fees with your credit card or your debit card. There's a certain amount of percentile in which they lose. So by you giving them $20, they don't lose 3% of that, and off the top, because all of these people are looking and trying to save every penny they can, because that's what keeps them alive and surviving. If you've never been part or been engaged in a farming operation, every little move you make is calculated to know how much you're going to save in order to see what you have profitable at the end of the year.
Absolutely. So you want to bring cash. You also want to consider bringing your own bags if possible, because if they put it in a bag for you, that's another fee or expense, that they have to endure. So you can bring your own bag if possible, and then I've seen people bring like wagons.
Yeah.
So that's an option too.
You can talk to the farmer. You can ask for a potential sample.
They're people too.
I mean, if you've never had a ground cherry, they will. I mean, obviously they're not going to let you gnaw into a cabbage, but there's certain unique vegetables or fruits in which they may be growing that you've never had, and they have an area or an available sample of it. So hey, I do like that. I'm going to buy 2 cartons of it, so you're not buying something you don't like. They
And I think the first time I had a ground cherry was at a farmer's market. I remember the vendor, they were like, you want to try this? And I'm like, what is it? And they're like, it's a ground cherry. And I'm like, okay. I didn't know what to expect. And then I was like, these are delicious. So that's where I tried ground cherries for the first time. And then also, as you interact, I took pictures of some of the vegetables and flowers, and this farmer was like, can you print those out and send those or give them to me? So I did that, which was an experience because I don't usually print out a lot of my pictures.
What's that mean?
But I was glad to do it. So I just dropped them off the next week.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I tell our niece and nephew after we take a picture of them with the phone, hey, when we were growing up, you and your mom, we had to wait 2 weeks to find out if we've had our eyes open or closed.
Yeah.
Because you had to send it off, and it went. And sometimes you didn't get your pictures back. You got a monkey riding a horse. We got that once.
You did?
Yeah.
Shut up.
It was mixed in with our picture. A monkey was riding a horse. Yeah.
That's like a gift.
Yeah. It was,
all right.
1992. Yeah.
I got a picture of somebody's dogs on a digital printout. Yeah.
So you can talk to the farmer, you can ask for samples, you can interact with them, you can ask. Farmers markets are a great place in order to buy in bulk, in quantity. If you're going to can tomatoes, or if you want a lot of sweet corn, you can get. I bought 24 years of sweet corn for $8 one time, so a whole box. I said it was, I forget what they named it. It wasn't sweet corn, it was cooking corn or something. I said, what's the difference?
And it was canning corn.
Canning corn. And I said, what's the difference between this and sweet corn? Nothing. We just got too much of it. And I said, I'll buy a whole box. He said $8. And I went home and counted 24 years of sweet corn for $8. You can't even steal that much from the big box store for,
put in your pants.
Yeah, you can't, you cannot get that. But that is a great place in order to buy in quantity. Whatever you're trying to.
Maybe we should clarify that you're not stealing corn.
Not stealing corn,
but the big box store.
But that's a heck of a deal. Now this was like 4 years ago, but there's still that availability at farmers markets that you can buy in quantity, you can buy in bulk. And if you want something, like if you've bought flour before, spelt flour, was that what it is? And you asked, hey, I would like this. And they say, we don't have it here, but come back next week and we will bring sorghum.
Yeah.
And we will bring extra for you. And that's how you can also do it as well, that you can put an order in and do it that way. So if you've never been to a farmer's market, boy, you're missing out, and you should go, whether it's just a block party at your little village or it is a massive park.
One thing I wanted to mention is you want to shop around.
Yes.
Especially if it's a larger farmer's market. You might go up to the first vendor and you see some carrots and they're like $4 for the bunch. But then you might move along and maybe you see like another farmer and there's like a better price perhaps. You can shop around a lot of times.
It won't be crazy difference, but there's subtle differences.
Right.
So when you do that, you're going to have a good time. Walton's also can provide you a good time, Holly, with their discount and the quality and the quality of their products.
Absolutely. So we are brought to you today by Walton's. We know you care about where your food comes from, canning, preserving your fruits and vegetables, but at Walton's you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. I just made chili recently, and I used some of the Walton's seasoning, but they can also help you process the meat. You want to make some snack sticks or beef jerky. They have this website called meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you go from animal to edible. They have meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, again, seasonings. You can get anything you need there for everything but the meat. And that's waltonsinc.com, and the educational site is meatgistics.com. So if you go to waltonsinc.com, you can use code GROW50 to save 10% off orders of $50 or more.
When we come back, ways to improve the production of your garden. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Grip 6 produces American-made products with sleek designs and quality materials. Based and manufactured in Utah, they have high-quality and durable products that last a lifetime. They're built beyond tough. Their wool socks come from Rocky Mountain-sourced materials, are soft and comfortable, keep your feet warm and dry, and come with a lifetime guarantee. Even for the most sensitive toes, these socks are made for everyone. High-quality wool socks make a huge difference for happy feet. They fit in with all the many things you do from around the house to the outdoors and beyond. They are comfortable and long-lasting. These socks are great for gardening because they keep your feet so comfortable no matter the conditions outside. It's hard to overstate how amazing these feel to have warm, dry feet as you work in your garden. Designed and manufactured in-house for the best results and quality every time. When you purchase from Grip 6, you're supporting long life cycle products and American-made manufacturing. Check out their belts, wallets, and socks at grip6.com. Use coupon code RADIO15 to save 15% off your order at grip6.com. Make watering easy. DripWorks provides quality drip irrigation supplies and equipment to gardeners just like you for all your growing needs across the U.S. and Canada. Purchase online at dripworks.com.
Worried about watering too much or too little? Tree Diaper technology is the best way to stabilize your soil moisture in your garden, trees, or houseplants. Use coupon code GARDEN15 to save 15% off at treediaper.com.
Deer Defeat is an all-natural based animal repellent to keep deer and rabbits away from your valuable plants that is odorless after 30 minutes and dries clear. It creates a continuous, invisible shield to protect your plants. Works for 30 days through rain, snow, and freeze. Will not clog your sprayer. Apply to your property without environmental damage. You can spray directly onto your plants up to flowering, then apply around your plants to continue protection. No need to reapply. Money back guarantee. To purchase, go to deerdefeat.com and use coupon code RADIO to save 10% off your order. Aqua-Mart.com has everything you need for eye-pleasing outdoor water features on your property. For over 25 years, we've been creating and field testing beautiful water features in order to provide you with the most reliable products and best value in the industry. From easy-to-install pond and water-filled kits to pumps, fish food, and more, you'll find everything you need to install and maintain a naturally balanced water feature in your yard. Make your backyard a true oasis and maintain it well. Visit aqua-mart.com to shop for all your needs.
When I commit to someone, I want them to commit back to me for, life. That's why I love Verlo mattress. When you buy a Verlo, you get something nobody else offers, a commitment to helping you love your sleep for as long as you own your mattress with a lifetime comfort guarantee. Those other places, you get a measly 60, 90, maybe 120 nights. Not even close, guys. Wake up, sleep better. Verlo.
Fleet Farm's Garden Center is now open. Stop in to check out their selection of nursery quality plants available at low prices. All of their plants are grown in the Midwest, and their vegetables are insecticide-free. Choose from annuals, perennials, shrubs, trees, and more. Plus, take care of your lawn with grass seed fertilizers, lawnmowers, and string trimmers. Get everything you need to keep your yard looking great at Fleet Farm, your lawn and garden headquarters.
The Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Dripworks, Rise Gardens, Grip 6, Bloomin' Easy, Fleet Farm, Waltons Incorporated, Blue Ribbon Organics, Tree Diaper. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your day. Farm Defense, products in which will help your harvesting go easier and make you safer.
Yeah, you want to farm and garden in the ultimate comfort. Farmers Defense has lightweight and durable sleeves to protect you against the elements while farming. Farmer sleeves are often unparalleled. They offer unparalleled protection of arms and skin for any farmer, gardener, or outdoor worker. The sleeves are cooling, comfort, protection against the elements, and outdoors. You can say goodbye to irritated skin and sunburns in the garden. An alternative to thick clothing, Farmers Defense is made of wicking material with UBF protection factor of 50 plus to protect you from allergens and scratches. To find all their great products and more, visit farmersdefense.com.
Now, the key to all gardeners who have gardens is to get the most out of their garden, to get the most production possible, and essentially doing it with the least amount of effort, not overworking the garden, not overworking yourself, but getting a good return on the investment of your garden.
Right. So you want to, I guess, garden smarter, not harder.
Okay.
So one way you can get the most production out of your garden this year, and as we come upon Memorial Day, which in a lot of more northern growing zones is when a lot of people start to think about planting. So one thing you can do over the next couple weekends is think about your soil. So maybe you want to add some compost to your soil, or you want to add some organic matter, and then this way will help keep your soil fertilized and fed throughout the season.
Buy in bulk,
yeah. So if you say you want to refresh your garden beds, you might want to consider getting some compost delivered. Maybe you are the type of person that uses some sort of animal manure. You want to consider, how you're going to obtain that, where it's coming from, etc. You want to kind of start to prepare now.
Blue Ribbon Organics in the Milwaukee area is a great source for bulk material, and you don't have to work it into your garden. You can simply top dress or apply a couple of inches on top of where you're at in your garden. Now, if there are weeds that are exposing themselves out of the ground, then you do want to remove them, because it's just easier and not have to fight them coming through the compost, because some of them will. In doing that, you can, and weeding, that's our next one in order to improve the garden. Whether weeding before adding the compost or weeding throughout the growing season, weeds are much more vigorous and more aggressive than the vegetables and the fruits in which you're trying to grow.
Right. So yeah, you want to weed. Another thing about weeding is, as Joy mentioned, they're vigorous, but then also because they are taking up things from the soil, they're taking things from the soil and from your plants. So you want to think about how they could also be crowding the roots and or robbing the soil of nutrients.
Yes. And weeding doesn't mean going in and ripping the top of the plant off and going, hey, it's not there anymore. Roots of these weeds are designed to regrow and continue to fight for survival. So even if you pull part of the root out of a dandelion or a wiregrass or a piece of fescue, there are many different roots underneath the soil that are going to regenerate a new top growth. So proper removal of roots can greatly reduce the amount of weeds in which you're going to have. Now, you're going to have blow in, you're going to have drift in, you're going to have birds drop, you're going to have all this stuff additional, but preventing the weeds on your end will greatly reduce it.
It also will reduce the weed problems. But one thing you want to keep in mind is that, like I said, weeds are taking from things in the soil,
right?
But also with watering. So when you water, you are feeding everything in your soil, including the weeds. So when you're watering, you want to water properly. You want to water timely and thoroughly. Yep. So when you're watering, you might think, okay, I'm going to make sure I spray at the root of my plants, and I'm going to do each plant for 4 seconds or whatever. And sometimes that's not enough. You have to think about coming back and rewatering. And then also, especially if in containers, sometimes you might water till it runs out the bottom of the container, and then you want to come back and do that again. And you might have to do that twice a day during the peak parts of summer.
You got to recharge the soil. Most of the soil, a lot of times that I have seen in our raised beds, that if you water and you haven't watered for a long time, the soil is hydrophobic. It rejects the water. It causes the water to run away and doesn't absorb, or it will absorb very minimal amount of water. So you think you've watered a lot, you go over and scrape the top half inch off. It's bone dry. So that's why you want to consistently water, whether you use a tree hugger sprinkler, a tree diaper, or a irrigation system from dripworks.com, in order to have that constant moisture in your garden, so you can always have moisture at the roots. And whenever we're talking about weeding, often people will weed by tilling. Again, tilling chops up those roots, and now instead of 7 plants or 7 weeds you have in that area, now you've got 215, because the tines of the tiller have chopped up these particles, and it looks pretty right now, but in 2.5 weeks, it is a football field of grass turf, because all of these weeds have regenerated from root follicles and are covering your garden even more intensely than they were before.
Right. And then, so I remember I had a friend who was a religious tiller, and he tilled his garden. His parents tilled their garden, their parents tilled their garden. And when I explained to him that you are chopping up these weeds and they're propagating themselves, and he's like, yeah, but I thought that, you till the weeds into the soil and that takes care of them. And I'm like, yeah, for 10 days.
Oh, I mean, there's right. Yeah. Now we will remove the weeds and then put the weeds on top of the soil to create a mulch layer and expose the roots in order for them to die. Some people will spade the small ones over, and that will kill them that way. Watering, plant the things at the right time of year. People often want to plant cucumbers very early in the season, and cucumbers require a root temperature of 65 degrees or more consistent in order to develop and grow correctly. People want to throw them in very early and think, I'm going to get cucumbers, and the plants do not like that, and they have difficulty producing the cucumbers that you're wanting. Plant the things at the right time. Tomatoes too early, you're going to fight the cold. You're going to fight the cold soil. You are going to deal with frost or frigid temperatures. Tomatoes do not like temperatures below 50 degrees. Now, they won't die, but you're stunning them. You're causing problems. Wait until the soil is 50, 55 degrees consistent, and then put the tomatoes in. Being the first person to have a tomato on the block, in the neighborhood, at the church social, there's a lot of extra work that you're putting into in order to get that first tomato. Just wait and do it at the more appropriate time, and then you won't have as many stressors in the garden. Plant radishes and lettuces and spinaches in the spring and in the fall. Don't try to grow them during the summer, where they won't grow hardly at all. They will strictly go to seed because of the heat and the day length. So knowing what to plant and when to plant it can greatly increase the productivity of the garden, because you're planting them when they are designed by nature to grow.
Absolutely. And then, so let's talk about shade versus sun. And this can be a key factor. A lot of people don't realize that they are either not providing enough sun to certain plants, or they're basically cooking their plants, certain plants. So there are different crops, especially there's a little saying that if it's green, if you grow it for the fruit or the root, it needs full sun. If you grow it for the green, it can be in the partial shade. So when we're talking about partial shade, we're not talking about that weird back corner of your garden that gets like 1 minute of sunshine when the sun is coming up. We're talking about 4 to 6 hours.
Right.
As
minimum.
Opposed to 8 to 12.
Right. Minimum 4 to 6 hours of sunlight. And by doing that, the plants are certain plants like that partial shade. Other plants can tolerate partial shade, but those plants that tolerate partial shade, beets, green beans, cherry tomatoes, they are not going to grow as rapidly They will produce, but not grow as rapidly. That's why people will say, oh, I got partial shade. I'm growing cherry tomatoes, because it doesn't take as much energy to produce the cherries versus the big beefsteaks, the brandywines, mortgage lifters, the purple brandy, or the purple black crims. So be aware of what you're planting, when you're planting, and where you are planting. Take a little time, do a little research, and figure out, now, if things have always worked the way that, you've always had success doing this for 37 years, and your grandmother's had success for it for 417 years, we'll keep doing it. But for most of us, things don't work the way you want them to if they're not designed to work that way.
And that's something that you had to learn. I had to teach you that we had to feed the soil, not the plants.
Because I came from an agricultural background where you fed the soil. The soil was the media, was just a holding place for the crops.
You fed the plants.
Right.
No, right, yeah.
Yeah, you pumped the fertilizer in the field, and the plants fed off the fertilizer, and the medium was just the soil. The soil was dead. And this was a non-organic agricultural background. Organic farming, the soil is the feed for the plants. And it grows there and it feeds off the soil. So, yes, you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. So you want to keep in mind that it's important to, yes, you may have done things one way, but as you learn things and continue on, you can make changes, you can make tweaks, you can try new things, and you don't have to try new things in your whole entire garden. You can always just designate one area to see how you like it, but it is always a learning process.
If you want to control beetles and grubs invaders without affecting the rest of your ecosystem in your yard, then Grub Gone and Beetle Gone are the solution.
Phylums Grub Gone and Beetle Gone target a wide range of invasive and destructive beetles, weevils, borers without harming non-targets such as bees, ladybugs, butterflies, earthworms, or other beneficial insects. You can purchase from these products locally in Massachusetts at Ward's Nursery, McHugh Garden Center, Hyannis Country Gardens, in Connecticut at Van Willigens Garden Center, in Maine at Salisbury Organics, and in New York at Fadigan's Nursery, and in Ohio at Berlin Seeds. If you go to phyllumbioproducts.com, you can find all the information there. You want to target the pest, not the rest. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com.
Hang out with us when we come back. Angela Ferraro-Fanning will be with us. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardeners, farms, landscaping, and more. To find our products nearest you, visit blueribbonorganics.com. Chapin has the tools for planting your garden and keeping it growing all season long. Whether your garden is big or small, Chapin has sprayers and spreaders for fertilizing, weed, and pest control, watering, and seeding. You can find Chapin products at your local hardware store, big box retailer. You may visit them also online at chapinmfg.com to learn more and buy online. We know that you appreciate the value of a beautifully landscaped yard, but tackling such a project yourself can seem way too complicated, right? Bloomin' Easy Plants are the answer. Their plants are low maintenance and offer exceptional beauty and color for your yard. Plus, they offer free seasonal care reminders with simple how-to videos tailored to the plants that you choose. With Bloomin' Easy on your side, creating the yard that you've always wanted becomes as easy as plant, water, and relax. Check them out at your local garden center or by visiting bloomineasyplants.com. Spring, the season of renewal, an unexpected house guest, none the worse perhaps than ants. And I'm not talking about great Aunt Mabel. When you need to get rid of ants fast, you need Rescue Ant Baits. Rescue Ant Baits are pre-baited, child-resistant, and ready to use right out of the box. No sticky liquid, no mess. Made in the USA by the makers of the popular Rescue Fly and Yellow Jacket traps. Learn more at rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
Mantis tillers, the premium long-lasting gas-powered tillers, are the perfect solution for any garden. This Mantis machine is available with 2 or 4 cycle engines with a 19-inch or 16-inch tilling width. Your DIY companion in your garden and your lawn converts easily for edging, aerating, and more with optional attachments. Find details at mantis.com. A non-selective herbicide that is USDA certified? Yep, No More Weeds by Naturally Green Products. The same great company that brings you No More Bugs. No More Weeds kills weeds with no harsh chemicals and no glyphosate. No More Weeds is a commercial-grade vinegar base with a proprietary sticking agent. Great around pools, decks, patios, and more. Visit natgreenproducts.com. Free shipping on orders over $50 using code FREESHIP4ME.
The Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Happy Leaf LED, Root Maker, Jung Seeds, Tree Hugger Sprinklers, Verlo Mattresses, Farmers Defense, Pomona Universal Pectin, Natural Green Products, Mantis Tillers. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Moments away, Angela Ferraro-Fanning will be with us. But first, a word from our good friends at Rise Gardens.
Rise Gardens is a revolutionary hydroponic gardening system for your home. Instead of food traveling hundreds or even thousands of miles before it hits your plate, harvest the veggies, herbs, and greens you need for dinner tonight in the comfort of your home. No green thumb required knowledge. Gardening made easy with the Rise Garden app. Simple step-by-step guidance from seed to harvest. A complete garden on a shelf and comes with everything you need to grow healthy and the freshest food for you and your loved ones. Fully customizable your garden to your needs and preferences. For more information, you can get your Rise Garden. Visit risegardens.com.
Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Angela is the farmer and content creator behind Axe and Root Homestead. She is also the author and blogger. Her book, The Sustainable Homestead, Create a Thriving Permaculture Ecosystem for Your Garden, Animals, and Land, just came out in March. Welcome to the program, Angela.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us, not only educating Holly and myself, but all of our listeners. And I want to start with this question. Was homesteading something you knew you always wanted to do, or how did you get into this, or was this something like a happy accident in life and you found out you loved it?
A happy accident is a good way to put it. I had no experience in farming. I don't come from a farming family. It was not on my radar. Not when I was in high school, college, nor when I pursued my own graphic and website design career and then had my own business. It actually wasn't until after I had my first child that I wanted to quit the daily grind, get out from behind the computer, and do something that felt real more raw and tangible to me. And that's how I kind of found homesteading.
And when you're a homesteader or you're an independent contractor, some people may label that being you have nobody to answer to but yourself. And if it doesn't get done, you didn't do it.
Absolutely right. It's a very demanding job, and it's also an addictive job because the more skills that you learn and the sense of accomplishment that comes with accomplishing tasks and learning that you certainly can do things kind of segues into trying to figure out how to do other things. And so it snowballs before you know it. So while it is hard work, it's also very rewarding work.
Fantastic. Now, many people might not know what permaculture is. What is it? And maybe some examples, but also what are common average ways that the home gardener might be already practicing permaculture and not even realize it?
Sure. So permaculture really just stands for literally permanent agriculture. And what it is, it's a way to farm or garden in alignment with nature and also in a way that mimics patterns that already exist in nature. So ways that people might be doing this already that they don't think about is with companion planting. Many gardeners are very familiar with the concept of companion planting and using flowers, herbs, or other crops even to help their main crop attract beneficial insects and repel unwanted ones, and in some cases, even disease. And so that would be a way that Mother Nature in the wild, if you think about it in a forest or in a meadow, would sort of put different plants together that actually help one another out. Another common one is fruit tree guilds. This is gaining more popularity. You wouldn't just plant an apple tree and stick it in the ground. You'd actually surround that apple tree with helpers and create a little neighborhood, an ecosystem of plants that not only repel and attract the desired insects, but also absorb nutrients from the soil, fix nitrogen, keep the soil cool, retain moisture, that sort of thing. Those are all things that already exist in Mother Nature.
So with planting things around a fruit tree, I'm assuming there's specific requirements that plant needs based on the shade availability that the fruit trees are producing.
That's absolutely right. One thing that I did in my book, The Sustainable Homestead, was sort of create these recipes where the members of your fruit tree guild are going to differ if you're planting an apple versus a fig versus a pear or even a cherry, or something like a blueberry or a raspberry or a blackberry. They all have their own needs, right? And so we want to make sure that we're supplying them with the right friends or beneficial helpers to really maximize their growth habit in the soil that they're in.
And I think you've seen it and we've seen it that we as gardeners and homesteaders, we think we know better than Mother Nature does, and we're going to do it this way. And why did that not work? And we've done it 4 years this way, and we're going to try it one more time.
You're absolutely right. I mean, if you go down a sidewalk in New York City, you can see that Mother Nature will always win because there's weeds popping up in the cracks, right? But I think the other thing that people really are sort of at fault for is that we take a look at what other people are doing in their gardens, especially on social media and in Pinterest. And what we need to remember is what works for somebody else in their own yard or garden, even if it's right across the street, isn't necessarily going to work for us. Because even though our growing zones could even be the same, our microclimates are different. The grade of the land, whether that be an upward or a downhill slope, how much water retention we have, those things are going to be different. The shade that your maple tree might cast is going to cause a difference in sun than what your neighbor has in their own yard. So really, we just need to get back to looking at what we have right in front of us, put the blinders on, put the earplugs in, and just really try to focus and hone in on your own space.
And oftentimes on those social media sites, they don't post the failures. They only post the pretty things.
Yep, that's true. That's very true.
Your book, The Sustainable Homestead, you mentioned it moments ago. Tell us more about it and something that's in it that would intrigue our listeners to definitely go pick up a copy.
Sure. So The Sustainable Homestead is the resource I wish that I had when I started my homestead. And it goes beyond just soil health. There's obviously a chapter dedicated to that. It goes beyond growing and companion planting and those orchard guilds that we talked about before with your fruit trees. It really also takes into consideration the things that you need to keep in mind when assessing your own plot of land or your own site. So really not only understanding and conducting nutrient soil tests and trying to figure out your weather patterns and your microclimate, but also understanding, okay, how are animals in nature going to play a role in this? Certainly when it comes to the garden, you wouldn't want to plant things that are just going to be a feast for deer. Or if you're keeping chickens or ducks or other livestock on your property, I have chapters talking about how could you feed them while also feeding the soil. Grass is great, but it really doesn't do anything for the soil other than perform erosion control, right? It doesn't give any nutrients to the soil. So how can we feed the soil while meet the needs of the animals? And so there's a lot of information in there on that. And then I also discuss composting, because if you have animals and if you have a garden, you're going to have waste. And so we can take that waste and we can make it work for us. And so really a lot of the things that nature does, it works smarter. And so we just kind of have to get back to that. Like you mentioned before, we're never going to outsmart nature. We need to harness the principles that are already there so we can work smarter and not harder and work in alignment with nature and not against it.
Right.
Absolutely. So we were talking with Angela, the farmer content creator behind Axe and Root Homestead, author and blogger. So cover crops seem to be the new gardening buzzword. What are they and what are some good ones, and maybe should everybody be utilizing them, even a smaller home gardener?
Sure. So cover crops are essentially crops that are grown in your garden or in your pasture animal grazing spaces that you grow for the sole purpose of feeding the soil. I mentioned before, I simultaneously grow some to feed my animals, but you wouldn't want to necessarily want to grow something like a forage turnip and then think you're going to harvest the turnips and eat them. The whole point would be to use a forage turnip to help break up soil compaction, because as that radish or that turnip grows and sends down that tap root and widens the soil around it, it's going to break up compaction. And so we want to leave that in there, not only during its growth period, but also allow it to die in place so that it can return the nutrients to the soil. So we want to think of cover crops as soil helpers and leaving them in place. One really great cover crop not many folks know about is sweet alyssum, which you can plant in your garden and is great for attracting bees and beneficial insects. But once the season is finished, don't pull it. Turn it back into the soil. It acts as a green manure or a nutrient fixer into your soil. It's going to add all of those nutrients back in plus more. And so it's really good also to create more organic matter.
And cover crops can be grown in the spring, in the summer, in the fall, and in some places they can be grown in the winter to cover the soil as nature has covered the soil, because we don't want to leave soil bare. Soil doesn't like to be left bare.
Right. So here in the mid-Atlantic, in the fall, I think it was late November, I planted berseem clover, red clover, and hairy vetch in my raised bed gardens. They had enough time to germinate, sprout, and get established, and they stayed green all winter long. And then come spring, I just turned them into the soil by hand. And in some other beds, I also created a little mobile rabbit run, which I dubbed the bun run. And the bunnies went through and grazed all the cover crops out for me. And then I was able to just plant.
Well, we like asking this next question to people because we learn from mistakes. What is a huge mistake you know a lot of homesteaders make that really you yourself have avoided it or you try to avoid it?
So I absolutely have a mistake that some folks will try to debate about because there's a nuance to it, and that's using hay in your garden as a mulch. So a lot of folks are familiar with the concept of covering soil. We do that to retain moisture and prevent solarization and erosion. We don't want any nutrients to escape. And so we can use straw as a great mulcher, but people assume that hay is very similar. We can use that too, but here's the thing. Straw is from the stem of the grass blade, and hay includes the seed head. So my own mistake, the nearby farm and nursery was out of straw. So I thought this first year that I was doing this, excellent, that's fine. They have hay. I'm going to use that. I very quickly turned into a grass farmer. Mm-hmm. All of the seed heads just planted themselves into the garden spaces, and it took over, and it was very difficult to garden that year. Weeding was near impossible. And so the nuance is, if you do want to use hay, it needs to be well rotted. We're talking, it needs to have had exposure to animal urine, feces. It needs to have been where the seed heads have maybe been trampled, walked over, no longer are there. And then you can take that hay, and this is assuming that there is no required decomposition point that, you would have an animal that would contain pathogens. Then you would be able to use it in your garden space. So I always tell folks, hey, just steer clear of it altogether. Just use straw. So
whenever you made this mistake, were you able to undo it eventually, or did you just move the garden to a place and start it over?
That's a good question. No, I'm still gardening in the same place. It took years. That first season initially was horrible, and I'm still pulling grass that I don't think I probably would have had I not used it that first year.
And there may be some people that would go, hey, we've made this mistake. We're just going to spray it with a weed killer, let it set a year, and then regrow in it. That, I guess, in some people's minds may work, but for organic gardeners and people who understand what those chemicals can do, that's not an option, as it was not for you.
Correct. Yeah, I'm a no-till farmer, organic gardener. So for me, pulling that root ball out by hand is the best and only way to go.
And you got some feed for the animals with weeds, if you really have to look at it that way.
That's true.
Well, we've really enjoyed having you on the program. How can people find out more about your great information and your book?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. So this book in particular is called The Sustainable Homestead. I also wrote a series for families, and it's also illustrated for children. It's called the Little Homesteader series. All of these books are available on Amazon or anywhere, such as Barnes & Noble, anywhere books are sold. But if you're looking to find me online, my website address and all of my social media handles, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, is Axe and Root Homestead. So that's AXEAND Root Homestead. And you'll find me there.
Well, Angela, we greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day, not only to educate Holly and myself, but all of our listeners. We thank you for the time you've given us.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And when we come back, it's Your Garden Questions, Our Garden Answers. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Dig planting holes from a comfortable standing position. Step, twist, pull, and plant. Visit ProPlugger.com.
Dripping Springs Oyas clay pot irrigation solves the watering needs for gardens, bushes, new trees, and more. An ancient irrigation system we brought to America. Dripping Springs Oyas, OLLAS, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Check us out.
Wind River Chimes creates a symphony in any space. Chimes that are inspired by nature and designed to make the natural world even more inspiring. Music speaks to everyone. Individually handcrafted in Virginia for over 35 years and hand-tuned for an exceptional precision and lasting beauty. Because in life, the winds of change are always moving. But no matter where they carry you, Wind River Chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more.
Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. Their products will provide you the harvest you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com and use coupon code RADIO23 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com.
Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com.
Tree Hugger sprinklers are the ultimate watering device for either your newly planted or established trees and shrubs. Our sprinklers open and close around the trunk of your tree and provide 360 degrees of watering. With our adjustable valve, you can direct the water to your tree's targeted saturation zone. They come in 3 sizes, 7, 11, and 15 inches. You can purchase a Tree Hugger sprinkler at your local garden center, feed store, or hardware store. Go to treehuggersprinklers.com to find a retailer close to you. Or you can buy it directly from Amazon or treehuggersprinklers.com. If you're an independent nursery, garden center, hardware store, or feed store, you will want to stock this product. Contact the good people at Tree Hugger Sprinklers and they will get you set up. Your tree's best friend. treehuggersprinklers.com. The Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Chapin Manufacturing Incorporated, Aqua-Mart, Soil Savvy, Wind River Chimes, Wisconsin Greenhouse Company, Pro Plugger, Deer Defeat, Dripping Springs Oyas, Phylum Bioproducts. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy you've taken time out of your day to join us on the program, whether you're listening to us live on one of the 20 AM and FM frequencies broadcasting our program here in 2023 or podcast replay, in-studio video replay. Thank you. It's time for question and answers. If you've got a question, we can probably get you an answer to your question. If you want to submit that, you can do that in 2 different ways. You can go to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Send us an email, gardentalkradio@gmail.com, or you can give us a call, toll-free, coast to coast, at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469.
This question is sponsored by Fleet Farm and fleetfarm.com. I have 1 pumpkin plant growing and it's getting kind of big, but I recently had just 1 small pumpkin growing and it broke off. I'm new to this, but I haven't been watering it very well, but also I live in Texas. I'm going to try to start watering it more, but any tips on how to make it grow stronger? Watering
helps.
Is the best, yeah.
Keep water consistently to the roots, whether you're in Texas, Alabama, or New York, Wisconsin. Water is the key here. Secondly, pumpkins, zucchini, watermelon, fill in the blank fruit or vegetable. If it knows it can't sustain the fruit or the vegetable on it, it will drop it off. Pumpkins are notoriously known for producing 7 or 8 flowers and starting to put on 7 or 8 pumpkins, and then they will kick off or break or dry up several of them. So you only have 1 or 2 really nice pumpkins. So that's just a natural thing. So focus and look at, once you've got a pumpkin established, or a watermelon, or a cantaloupe, or honeydew, find 2 or maybe at the very most 3 that look really good, and then go ahead and cut the other ones off. I know it's painful, but go ahead and cut the other fruits that are trying to develop off. So all the energy can be focused to that one plant or that one fruit or that other one or two pumpkins. So you have really nice pumpkins in the fall, or harvest watermelons or cantaloupe, whatever they may be. You can also put good compost around the base of the pumpkin. As you water, the nutrients will go down, and pumpkins will also send off roots along their vine. Whenever you pick a pumpkin up, it's going to be attached to the ground with roots. So you could also, put a little soil around that too. It's not required, but also now you're trying to grow 2 pumpkins. You don't want to invest $83 in compost and compost teas and fertilizers to try to grow 2 pumpkins that you could buy at the supermarket for $6. Okay, so yeah, we want to grow what we want. We want to try to grow it, but we have to be logical about this as well. All right, next question here is the phone call. We had a phone call come in from Boston. They listened to us on WCRN 830 AM. She did not leave her name, but let's see what she has to say.
Just wanted to ask the question. I enjoy the show very much, listen to it every week, and the question is, should eggplants be planted deep, when you transplant, similar to tomatoes, which you stated they should be planted a little deeper? Also, another question, I'd like to know where to buy rock fate, not fertilizer, but straight, just rock fate. And also, I'm not clear on when you say Jones seeds or Jung seeds. So I'm not sure. When you advertise that, I'm not sure what words you're using. So if you could clarify that. And like I say, thank you very much for your show. It's wonderful. Thank you. Bye.
Well, thank you for calling in. Thank you for the kind words on the program. With eggplants, no, you don't want to plant them any deeper than what they are in the container, whether you've started it or you have bought it from in a container. If you plant it deeper, and this is the same for peppers, even though tomatoes, peppers, eggplants are all in the nightshade family, peppers may fractionally put a few more roots on right above where the soil line is. It's not, if you plant them too deep, they're going to rot. Same things with eggplants. Just plant them in the depth in which they were in the container. Tomatoes, you can plant very, very deep, and the hairs on the stem of the tomatoes have the opportunity to put on roots. Also, Jung Seeds, JUNGSEED.com, Jung Seeds. Jung Seed at,
and you can use
coupon code
10TG23.
Right. Say that again.
10TG23
to save 10%.
10% off your order at jungseed.com. JUNGC.com.
Yep. There you go. And then she also had a question about
the rock fates.
Rock fate. Yes.
So you can find that at most local garden centers. It looks like they come in 5-pound bags. So you just go to your local garden center.
I would recommend independent.
Yeah.
Absolutely. At least they would know. The big box store may carry it, but they don't care. They don't care whether you buy it or not.
All right. So then we have another question that came in.
Ed from Yankton, South Dakota asked if planting carrots and onions next to each other, if there's a problem with those, if they are a companionship in the garden or enemies.
Well, they're not either. They're not best friends, but they're not enemies either. Maybe they're frenemies. You
can plant those.
You can plant them next to each other. It's no problem at all. So that's a good choice, and
thank you, Ed, for
not cause issues.
Yep. All right. Are you finding that tomatoes, cucumbers, pepper plants are much more costly this year? Also, flowers and shrubs, trees seem to have doubled. Is this true in your area? Yes. We had an article come out in the local TV station here, and they were saying that everything has basically gone up. Garden supply is up 15%. Cost of fertilizer has tripled. And we all have our own thoughts of why this is occurring, whether it's politically motivated, whether it's has other reasonings behind it, or if it's a combination of all many factors. But yes, everything has gone up. Seedlings are going to cost more this year. Fertilizer is going to cost this more. Everything. Food across the board. So what we are planning on doing is we planted a lot of tomatoes, and they didn't all grow the way I wanted them to grow inside. So we have about 20 less tomatoes than what we had anticipated. So we're going to pull a playbook card from Holly's past. Explain for people who've heard this or haven't heard this.
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize this would be such a big deal.
This is a big deal, at least to me, and maybe a lot of our listeners, they've never heard that this can be done, especially with these vegetables.
Growing up in the city, we would just plant the seeds Memorial Day weekend. So that was everything. That was zucchini. That was tomatoes.
You didn't know
peppers.
what a plant start was.
No. When I first met you and you're like, I got my seeds started, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Why are you growing them in this tiny little greenhouse? Not realizing that you were going to transplant them. Mm-hmm. I thought that you were...
That was their home forever.
Very good at gardening.
Okay. Joke's on you.
Apparently. So, yeah, we just threw them in the ground. I mean, don't just throw them in the ground, plant them nicely. And then by August, we usually had everything. So,
whenever you look in the back of the package, it says days to harvest. That is whenever you put it in the ground, not when you start it in the seed cell. So if you started tomatoes that take 85 days, its days to harvest is from the time you take that transplant and put it in the ground. 85 days start then. Or you take that seed, 85 days starts then. So the starting point is the same. The size of the plant is different. The only benefit, I mean, there's multiple benefits to this. You save space indoors, and you don't have to go through the process of hardening off your plants. The plants get naturally hardened off as they grow in the garden. So you did and peppers, I wouldn't advise this on peppers. Peppers are incredibly slow growing, but apparently it worked for you. That peppers did the same thing. They grew.
I don't think they got very big, but they did work. Yeah.
But tomatoes are more rapidly growing. So we're going to take, when we run out of starts from our indoor grow room, we are going to just go straight to the seed. And just like you would in your seed starting tray, I'm going to plant 3 tomato plants, 3 seeds in a hole with at least 1 coming up. And if all 3 comes up, and they all 3 are like really, really great, then I will gently sort them out and move them around and maximize our tomato growing. We've got good eggplants and good peppers. We just didn't have the number of tomatoes. We didn't plant enough.
Yeah, we probably should have planted more, but that's okay.
So there's your handy garden tip of the week. You can just put the seed in the ground, and you can get your seeds from jungseed.com, JUNGSEED.com, and save 10% by using coupon code 10TG23 and get all the seeds you want. You don't have to worry about your plant starts. So next question here now that we've surprised a lot of people on that.
Okay, so is there such a thing as too many mushrooms being a bad thing? I have a ton growing in my container with my bell peppers. It's not a bad thing per se, but maybe you could be overwatering. Or if you live in a high moisture area, they might just naturally occur. But if you mulch, it could help reduce them.
Reduce them, and they're only going to be around for 48, 72, 96 hours, and they are going to produce some shade on the soil if you're not mulching, and you should be mulching. Even your containers, you should mulch. Mulch for your containers can be pine straw, it can be shredded paper, it can be sand. You can go to the beach and get and just put a ½ inch of sand on top of the containers. Because what's underneath sand at the beach? Moisture.
More sand.
More sand, but it's wet sand.
It is wet sand.
It's wet sand.
Yeah.
And you can use all types of natural mulch around your containers. Straw, chemical-free, seed-free grass clippings. But certainly mulch your containers, because no matter the size of your container, it's going to dry out quicker than in the ground. And the smaller the container, the less soil mass, the faster it's going to dry out. And the sooner you're going to have a dead plant, because you may not remember to hydrate it. All right. Should I pinch off the flowers of my potato plants? Well,
no. You can.
This is controversial.
It is controversial. It's kind of like a do what feels right for you type of thing. Some people
should you cut suckers off a tomato or not? Get your boxing gloves on and go at it.
So some people like to do it, some people don't. It will put energy possibly back into developing larger potatoes, but it's not.
But if you pinch the flowers off, which potato flowers are very pretty, there are pink ones and white ones and yellow ones. If you pinch the flowers off your potato plant, are you going to gain a ½ pound more potatoes? Or are you going to gain some minuscule amount of ounces that it's not worth the effort to go through and pinch the flowers off your 37 plants? And certainly these agricultural fields, they're not pinching flowers off of their plants. Now, Yukon Gold potatoes are more prevalently known for putting on seed pods or little looking like green tomatoes that contain pure, real potato seeds. If you remove the flowers from that, I'm drawing a blank, but I don't know if that's actually going to prevent those from occurring or not. But there are people that will get those and then start potatoes from true seed rather than tubers that we're all very familiar with doing. It is a challenge. Some people are successful at it. Don't eat those. Those are very high level of toxicity, and you don't want to mess with those. Well, with that being said, we are out of time, and we thank you for yours. Miss any portion of the program today or would like to revisit it? Hey, you can do that by going to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and clicking on the Season 7 tab at the top of the page. Or you can send us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com, and we will send you a link to this program. Tune in next week to the program where we'll be discussing mosquitoes, what to do and how to keep them away, as well as the world of beans, bush beans, pole beans, and dry beans. Our guest next week is
Christy Purifoy,
as well as we'll answer your garden questions. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.